All right, recording?
Yeah.
Sweet.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us, especially on an early Sunday morning in New Orleans. We appreciate it. We are so glad to be chatting with all of you. A little bit about our panel, this specific panel with my amazing colleagues. We're going to explore the recent integration of AI in higher education primarily, and how it has this very transformative impact on both assessment and feedback, particularly focusing on evolving roles in terms of, for us as instructors and professors. So AI technology offers a lot of innovative solutions to streamline and enhance traditional assessment methods by providing instructors with a valuable insight and resources to optimize student learning outcomes. So this panel is focused on helping community college educators and educators of the like to consider the importance of regard in shaping attitudes, perceptions, and behaviors towards AI in higher education. So first we're going to start it off with Alex Dejean from LA Harbor, and he will be speaking about equipping students with 21st century digital literacy skills. So take it away.
All right, hi everybody. My name is Alex Dejean. Thank you, Raquel, for the wonderful introduction. I am going to be talking about equipping students with 21st century digital literacy skills. One of my skill sets is not titles, so that's why it's really long. For those who don't know me, I'm an instructor at a community college. Right now, I'm on tenure track position at Los Angeles Harbor College in Southern California. But throughout my career, I have taught at least 9 community colleges across my career so far. So for any of you who know any part-timers, being part of the whole freeway flyer thing is a normal aspect of it. I teach a lot of different communication studies courses. Aside from public speaking, I also teach argumentation and debate, and interpersonal communication, and communication in new media, and intercultural. Pretty much every comm class that my district offers, I teach. So I have a wide range of skills, and some of the things I'm going to be talking about will apply for different courses, whatever fits whatever you're teaching. I absolutely love technology. I know there have been AI scares about it. I absolutely love technology and this whole AI. Like, I'm on the AI hype train immediately with it. And I do think that in higher education, a lot of what we need to do is we need to be innovative. Not only for the sake of just keeping what we do fresh and interesting, but also so that way we have material that helps students be more engaged with our material. And on that note, I want to talk about an issue. So, in terms of some research, one issue is that number one, people do need new skills with technologies, and that there is digital competency divide among diverse student bodies. So we do know that, at least with item number one, that using technology is a regular part of many other jobs. For us as instructors, we use presentation aids, or accountants use calculators or spreadsheets. So we know that people need new skills with technologies, but we also know that there is a divide among different student bodies in terms of digital competency, because not only is there a problem of just having access to technology, but there's also a lack of access in terms of the technology that is taught for students to use. And as much as we fear, AI will be needed for work. Some of you who may be against AI, hands down, absolutely stick with it. If you are concerned that AI is ruining students' writing abilities, your concerns about AI are 100% valid with it. But some studies have shown, especially at least for this research, Harvard Business Review article I found had over 50% of jobs in the next 3 years will be integrating AI usage into the workforce in some particular way. And lastly is that faculty are typically unprepared to teach new technology skills. In part because some faculty do not want to, which is again, totally valid, but sometimes it's just faculty do not know the technology. So I'm glad all of you are here to learn about that. So in terms of what I'm going to show all of you in the next 5 minutes, how much time has gone by? Oh, 4 minutes? All right, I'm on track, I'm good. So I'm going to talk about how to use technology in classes. I'm going to show you a lot of different assignments I use that integrate AI technology. The tools I'm going to show you are free or low cost. They're also low stakes because they're all essentially chatbots. So the skill set to learn how to use them is a very low bar. If you've ever texted anybody before, if you've ever sent a text, that is literally all you need to know how to use chatbots and lots of different forms of AI. Also, hopefully with what some of you take away from this is that you may want to use these in your own classes or show some of your colleagues just, oh, here's how different ways you can use AI in communication studies classes. And some of these do reflect both pedagogical and andragogical needs. Because at least in Los Angeles, with diverse student bodies, we have traditional students and non-traditional students. And it can be very difficult sometimes to meet teaching or learning strategies that appeal to both groups of students. So one thing I have is that if you want to use AI in your classes, here are some activities I have done. So you can make preparation outlines with an outline template, or you can create media assets for asynchronous presentations, or you can generate epidictic speeches for recent social issues, or you can identify fallacies. For example, one of the things I have used this for, and this is before Google Gemini was called Google Bard. One thing I had is that I had students create presentations based on at least a year or two ago, about the ruling that essentially said that the Supreme Court decision in Biden v. Nebraska that said race in college applications is against it. So now college applications cannot use that in their decision making. And this was a response that I had generated and that my students had helped generate in terms of how to respond to that. So in terms of helping students prepare presentations, using AI is very useful because any student who just wants a model or an example of something, an AI can generate a presentation relatively quickly. And if you do it in a particular style, it can do it. In this particular example, I had it generate a presentation in the style of Martin Luther King's I Have a Dream, because I also wanted to teach students how to use imagery and rhetorical devices in their presentations, but at the same time addressing recent social issues. Something else I've used before is creating media assets for asynchronous presentations. So I have had students for my communication and new media classes create things. Because one thing that I teach in my media classes is copyright and licensing, and you cannot use other people's work unless you give them attribution. But with AI technology, again, there's legal precedence for this, that AI technology is not copyrightable because a human being did not make any of it. So if my students from my media class create something with AI, they can use that in their own presentations or in the media videos that they create. I've also used this to have students create argumentative fallacies, or identify fallacies, so that way when they're doing presentations, they can actually identify and point out issues with their opponent's arguments during debates, or they can do early prepping with it. But aside from AI as just something for students to use, you could also use it for teaching. So for some of you who may be worried that AI does the job for students, one of the easiest ways I have found to make sure students are using AI properly is to create public share links. So for example, one of this example is I had my students from my argumentation and debate class have to do a rebuttal argument. And I showed them, okay, use my outline template, and I want you to pick something that is patently not true and make an argument against it. So this is a chat history that I use with ChatGPT to create an argument to disprove the flat earth theory. One aspect about it is that in order to make sure that my students know how I'm using this and how I can check students' work, is if I go to any chat history, I can go to an option and share it and create a public link. So when I have students turn in work in which I specifically have them use AI, I know how they're using it, because when they make a publicly available link and they turn that in as their work, I can go and just peruse and go through the chat history, so I see as an instructor the process of how students are learning and how students are using the tool. Aside from that also, one of the things is that for any of you who use open educational resources, you could also sort of transform them. I have a colleague, his name is Brian Barrick, he teaches in political science. What he did is he took his class's Political Science 101 textbook, and with 11 Labs, he used a website called 11 Labs, and that's a voice cloning website. So he trained 11 Labs with 30 seconds of him talking, he was able to make a voice clone of himself. And from that, he generated multiple chapter videos for the textbook that he uses. And a lot of his students find this really useful, in part because if a student also wants to be engaging in material, it's available on YouTube, so it's publicly available. But also, they're hearing their teacher talk about the material. And the other aspect is that some of his students have specifically told me that they like this because they can listen to the textbook as an audiobook while they're in their car or driving, or while they're in the shower or in the bathroom or something like that, right? Because again, we live in a media age and we always have to be connected to phones and always have to be something to watch and listen to. So with at least one of my colleagues, the way he's used AI is he has specifically used a voice cloning website, 11 Labs, so that way he can just audio book an entire textbook without him needing to record 10 hours of lecture material. I myself, every once in a while, have used AI to create something, to create education materials. So I use a website called Simplified AI, and this is an example of talking about, I think, ethos, pathos, logos.
Or addressing a large crowd, speeches play a crucial role in our lives. Informative speeches educate the audience on a particular topic.
All right, I'm going to pause it right there because I don't want to have this eat up all the time. So again, I use Simplified AI to, number one, generate a video about different types of presentations. And as a cartoon, do I have 4 minutes left? All right, I got 4 minutes left. Let's go. All right, tail end, my people. So this is with Simplified AI. I used it to create cartoonish types of content related to informed speeches. And for any of you who teach online, one of the biggest difficulties faculty have is making sure that any media you create meets Title IV accessibility standards. Because I used an AI-generated content, it has open captions. So as you see in the bottom, it has a way to, because I just gave the prompt of the script, there are already open captions in the video, which I can also supplement as closed captions. It is sort of picture because I teach dual enrollment courses, so some of the materials I make, I want to tailor towards younger audiences, which is why the style of all these images are based, I think, off of Disney style animations. One other thing, as I'm getting to the tail end, is that you can use AI to fix auto captions. I do a lot of stuff on YouTube because I want to always have access to the things I put up. But again, having to generate captions and fix captions is very time consuming. But if I make a video, upload it to YouTube, have YouTube auto captions, I can just then take those automatically generated captions, go into ChatGPT and say, fix the capitalization and spelling and punctuation of this statement. And that way I can just take the corrected statement and then plug that in and update my videos, so that way there are accurate captions to meet Title IV accessibility. You could also, for those of you who teach online, if you want to, perk up your pages in some particular way, you could also have ChatGPT help create more accessible and more engaging pages in some particular way. I specifically have used it to create web pages in HTML, so that way there are different elements on a page in my online courses. Now, as I get to the last 2 minutes, there are lots of different AI tools. So the top 3 are Google. So there's Google Labs, Google Gemini, and Notebook LM. I personally like to use Google because I have a Google account, and for some of my community colleges, their student emails are associated with Google, and if they're coming from high school, they likely have Google accounts anyway, because most, as far as I'm aware, most schools, K-12 education, their emails are Google accounts. So Google Labs, Gemini, Notebook, all free. All you need to have to use it is a Google account. The other 3 is ChatGPT 4o, or Microsoft Copilot, or Meta AI. So for any of you who are on Facebook, you can just use Facebook, because Meta AI is available. And as a final note, I'm at 2 minutes up. All right, don't. I'm gonna end in 1 minute, my person. You can copy the work. So these slides and my presentation slides and my colleague's presentation slides are all on this one very long presentation. So if you want to be able to access some of the stuff, again, we do have a QR code, and if you want to get a reference for some of the material, why is it not loading? It failed at the end though. I mean, I think that's a good ending time right there. So while this loads, here we go. So I'll leave this open, and I shall just leave it open and say thank you for your time.
Go ahead and leave this up for just a second, just in case you want
I'm very happy to go and actually do it to our code. I appreciate all of you for asking me. Ooh, cool thing. Roll extra time.
All right, excellent. So thank you, Alex, once again for starting us off. Our second presenter, Wesley Hernandez from Bakersfield College, will be discussing the Promptinator, enhancing communication classrooms with AI chatbots.
Hi everyone, my name is Wesley Hernandez. I'm part of the awesome communication faculty at Bakersfield College in Southern California. To frame this conversation, I just want to start by sharing my beliefs and insights regarding AI. I don't believe AI is a threat to the communication discipline, but rather it's an opportunity to improve it. So what this means is redefining what strong communication looks like in this tech-driven era. In my public speaking courses, I teach students how to leverage technology to build impactful speeches while still maintaining their voice. You know, I've been exploring AI for almost 2 years, Google Gemini and ChatGPT, and there's so much I'm still learning about this field. As a public speaking professor, I've gotten comfortable with awkward environments, so I'm really diving into this AI environment to see how it can improve student success rates. It's literally my ultimate productivity sidekick. Like, my favorite part about this chatbot experience is the way I'm exercising my critical thinking muscle to request the thing that I want. Rubrics, lesson plans, rec letters, better assessments, generating new ideas more easily. I believe these AI chatbots provide enormous benefits for teachers. It can explain hard concepts as if I were a 15-year-old. So you can say to any AI chatbot, explain fiscal policy to me as if I were a 15-year-old using the example of Iron Man, and it can do it. Like, you can use AI chatbots to create cool and meaningful experiences in your classrooms that are authentic. Students don't want to learn things that are not relevant. So these are going to be my 4 talking points this morning, and let's just go ahead and dive into it. So what you're going to see on the right-hand side is going to be several prompts that my students play around with when they're doing the brainstorming phase of their speech process, their speech journey. So I'm going to dive into this first bullet point. I teach communication students the expectation of using tools like Claude, ChatGPT, and Google Gemini as a resource rather than the answer. So right now there is a big insecurity with generative AI, misinformation, plagiarism, and other ethical concerns. So like I mentioned before, I'm really interested in seeing how this can improve student success rates. And I really have a natural flair when I see there's an opportunity for change and innovation. A thought-provoking question I eventually asked myself is, if I'm going to be using AI tools, how should I be using them, where should I be using them, and why am I using them? That helped me develop a structure to my approach with how I was going to eventually teach students how to use these tools. They really, it's a fun tool, but I trust it like a used car salesman. And I do believe that this is reflective of like higher order thinking skills, and I'm going to elaborate more in a moment. So, generative AI is a machine learning system designed to mimic human intelligence for specific tasks. It can scour the internet and sort through, learn from, and build upon massive amounts of information. It can also generate human-like responses. And then the last thing, so my students use AI to help with the brainstorming process. And prompt engineering, which we'll discuss later, it's asking tools like Google Gemini, Claude, and ChatGPT to create something for you based on your specific requirements. I understand that AI tools are very new, and there seems to be 2 camps. In one camp, it's untrustworthy and bad, and the other camp, dude, it's amazing. I'm going to rely on it 100%. And copy and paste everything into ChatGPT. And I think that both are wrong. So I see AI as tools. as an extension of our creativity and capabilities. The calculator didn't replace the mathematician. The typewriter did not replace the fiction author. All of these new technologies did change how we do our work. And those who fight them end up being very frustrated later as they are no longer able to keep up in the new context of their fields. You know, I think as teachers, we're all trying to figure out, how do I take all of this content and get it really specific to the skill or learning experience that I want my students to have? Whenever we're talking about AI, like what I say today could be wrong tomorrow, so don't quote me on this in a week. You know, there's really no magic tool that's gonna solve all the problems in education. But you know, our philosophy is about good teaching, core strategies, and how can we bring tech into that when it's appropriate. Okay, so I want to dive into one of the first AI collaborative assignments that I have my students do. And this is a very low stakes assignment. Before I share the prompt, I want to quickly say this. Oh, nice. Okay. Actually, I'm just going to dive right into it. I'm running out of time. So the first thing that I plug into the AI chatbot, again, you can do this with Google Gemini, Claude, ChatGPT. Let's say we're using Google Gemini for this. I have my students insert, actually this is my prompt that I'm using because I want to create an assignment that students do to collaborate with the AI chatbot. So this is what I plugged in. Create an assignment where students interact with an AI chatbot only using 5 prompts to help them begin the brainstorming process for their informative speech. But I don't stop right there. I continue the conversation with AI. I give it some parameters, so the assignment will have 3 preloaded prompts to get the students started, and then followed by students designing 2 original prompts. I also want to incorporate a reflection component too, so this is what I say to the chatbot. Students will need to write a 100-word reflection on their interaction with the AI chatbot. And then one more thing that I want to include. Students will submit a copy of their chat history as proof of completion. Now before I share the outputs, let me quickly say this. Prompting is going to provide the biggest benefit to students. Prompting is where you're going to see the biggest advantage if you're trying to improve student engagement. Are you ready? Let's see what the output is. So this is what it pumped out, everyone. It gave me a title, easy to follow steps, prompts to help with the brainstorming process. For the reflection part at the bottom, students will explain that they found the AI interaction useful and productive. It pumped this out in like less than 10 seconds. And so obviously you can tweak it even more to fit your individual needs if you're not satisfied with the first result. Oh, here it is, okay. So yes, AI does give us the promise of short-term efficiency, but when it comes to getting knowledge to stick, there may be no substitute for human relationships. On the same token, I've experienced a dramatic productivity boost in facilitating better assignments because of AI. AI helps with writer's block. It can be a personalized tutor. It offers personalized interactions. I think these are the quickest wins you can get in your classroom. Okay, yeah, I have enough time. Okay, so business leaders using AI will quickly outpace leaders who don't. So it's important to get up to speed quickly and in the right way. So here's another low stakes AI collaborative assignment that I have my students do. And now the students are going to start plugging in their own prompts. Here's the first one. I'm a public speaking student looking to focus on writing a speech that's due in 4 weeks. I can only work on my speech 3 to 4 days per week and only 1 hour per session. Now I won't stop right there because the more specific you are, the better results you'll get. So I have the student also plug in this. Create a speech preparation plan divided into 3 groups. So you're letting the AI know how you want the output to look. Here are the 3 columns that I want: researching the topic, writing the speech outline, and practicing the speech. The format, make sure it's in a table format so I can easily paste it within a spreadsheet. And again, you can refine it even more to fit your individual needs. And now, here's the output. So everyone, it gave me like a day-by-day playbook of every single week. Week 1, researching the topic. Week 2, writing the speech outline. Week 3, practicing the speech. And you can take a look at the rest of the details on your own. And again, if you're not satisfied with the first result, tweak it even more to fit your needs. You just simply continue the conversation with AI. So here's my approach. I feed the AI chatbot ideas, but let it write it for me. I rewrite the prompts when the quality sucks, and then I feed it new prompts until I get the result I want. All right, we're officially at the end. So everyone, here's a scale that demonstrates your level of comfortability of AI use in the classroom. And the column on the right indicates what each level entails. So the scale ranges from no AI use to full AI use and slides between the two extremes. Here's a question I often get asked, like, should we be using AI in the classroom? That particular genie is out of the bottle, and trying to prevent the use of AI by our students is a fruitless endeavor. I also feel that not showing our students how to use AI is an approach that really doesn't serve them in the long run. Again, I'm only interested in AI from a student improvement perspective. So, coming out of the pandemic, there's really so many concerns about how students communicate. So now we're moving into this new culture of student learning. There's new strategies that we're employing to better engage students. I realized that I need to teach through stories, vulnerability, interactions with AI to help students perform better on assessments. I'm still constantly asking myself, where does AI belong in the writing process? Where does it belong in the speech writing process? So right now, just really quick, everyone, just think about an assignment that you use in your classes. Just picture that assignment that you use in your class. Where is brain power necessary? Then think about where can AI make the process more efficient while still having students engage their brain in that process. My assignments and my speech courses are very brief. They're very brief, and I do that on purpose because I want it to be something that engages them. Doesn't take tons of time, but helps them to focus on the skills that I want them to acquire. Now, should students be using AI for generating ideas, outlining, or even evaluating sources? So here's my take. For every assignment that you expose your students to, for every assignment, get students involved in AI conversations. Showing students when AI use is allowed and when to make the switch to brain power is so fucking critical now when introducing any assignment. You have to explain when AI can help or hurt their learning for these assignments. We have to be proactive as teachers, now more than ever. Okay, perfect. In the era of AI, there are ongoing conversations about how writing and research assessments need to evolve to prevent plagiarism. Since AI detectors are not 100% reliable, we need to rethink our assessment methods, instructional methods, and encourage students to use AI in a way that doesn't do the work for them, but rather using it to demonstrate knowledge with its assistance. All of us here on this panel, we are still developing ways on how we can revolutionize our teaching to develop students' critical thinking skills through the use of AI. But, in the meantime, we're not afraid of it, we're going to embrace it, and we're going to use it for good, not for evil. Thanks so much.
Wesley. Next up, we will be having Nesheiwat from Cypress College chat with us about ethical regard using AI, a guide for communication courses using deep fake. Abraham.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. And my name is Abraham. I teach at Cypress College in Southern California. And today I'm going to be talking about deepfakes and its potential use in the classroom. Just an informal survey. Raise your hand if you know what a deepfake is. Okay. Okay, good. Raise your hand if you've used deepfakes before. Okay. Okay, cool. So today I'm going to show you different platforms that we can create deepfakes. At first we thought this is stuff that only Hollywood could create, but now it's in the palm of our hands, and we can use it and create content for our lectures or activities. So when we discuss deepfakes, we can't ignore their ethical implications. People can use deepfakes without any regard to ethics. But honestly, that's true for a lot of things. Take rhetoric, for example. It was first viewed with skepticism, right? Because it could be used to manipulate, sway opinion without any regard to ethics or truth. And very similarly, deepfakes does the same, but we can also use it with ethics to create content for education. So deepfakes it's not new. It's been around since 2018. We've seen the Barack Obama deepfake. That's a popular one that was created by Jordan Peele. It looks very real, right? Very hyper-realistic. And so today I'm going to cover 3 areas. I'm going to relate and draw a parallel to Marshall McLuhan's The Medium is the Message. I'm going to show you how to use deepfakes for content creation. And lastly, I want to share an activity that I created and show you what that looks like as well. So, as far as relevance, I was exploring the city when I arrived here in New Orleans, and just 4 minutes from here, there's a Caesars. I walked into the Caesars, and what do I see? An AI blackjack dealer. Caesars Casino was using it. I was fascinated. This is a picture I took this week because I can't wait to show people about this. And so, AI generated avatar blackjack dealer. I thought this was very fascinating because it's an engaging avatar as well. But anyways, I want to illustrate this further as far as what a deepfake looks like. But first, let me define what a deepfake is. A deepfake enables the creation of hyper-realistic but fabricated videos, images, or audio recordings. As far as audio recordings, you can also clone voices. Insert them into talking images or videos. Sounds scary, but not really. Check this out.
Hello, NCA, and welcome to New Orleans. My name is Marshall McLuhan. Hello, NCA, and welcome to New Orleans. My name is Marshall McLuhan. Big thanks to Alex, Wes, and Rocky. Remember, the medium is the message. Deepfakes as a medium shapes how we experience and engage with content.
This took me about less than 20 minutes to make. Deepfake of Marshall McLuhan talking about the medium as a message. Now, these videos can be created with a longer span, right? But we know that longer videos really lose the attention of some students. So they can be used just for snippets or short content. So Marshall McLuhan's famous idea, the medium is the message, suggests that the way content is delivered, the medium, has as much, if not more, influence on society than the content it carries. Raise your hand if you've heard the saying, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Very similar, right? The content really is embedded in the media, the medium. McLuhan argued that every new medium reshapes how we experience, reshapes the human experience. So the medium, the technology or the platform, has greater impact on how we engage with information than the actual content. Is that interesting? Now, he also mentions how mediums and just media and technology in general is an extension of the central nervous system. So, just as the nervous system transmits electrical impulses to communicate within the body, deepfakes transmit signals across vast distances to allow global communication, information exchange, and interaction. So I want you to imagine a deep fake of Aristotle explaining ethos, pathos, and logos. It's probably better than me explaining it in class for students. So, if you teach online, that is one way to engage students in your async classes. But it can also be used in your in-person classes. In fact, this is what it would look like. Oh, let's go back to this.
As Aristotle, I shall elucidate the concepts of ethos, pathos, and logos, which are essential components of persuasive discourse. First, ethos pertains to the character and credibility of the speaker or writer. It is the appeal to authority and ethics, where the audience assesses the trustworthiness and moral integrity of the individual presenting the argument. To establish ethos, one must demonstrate knowledge of the subject matter and exhibit virtuous behavior, thereby cultivating respect and confidence in the audience. Second, pathos concerns the emotional appeal. It seeks to engage the audience's feelings, stirring empathy.
So this experience transforms how we connect with the past. Because it's no longer limited to just reading text or listening to lectures. Right? Now we get the feel of tone and videos that extend the boundaries of learning, making it more personal and impactful.
As Aristotle, I am Cicero, master of Roman oratory, and it was I am Cicero, master of Roman oratory, and it was I who formalized the 5 canons of rhetoric, the essential pillars of persuasive discourse. First comes invention, the art of discovering arguments. Here lies the heart of rhetoric, finding the most persuasive ideas, whether rooted in logic, credibility, or emotion. Without invention, there is no substance. Next is arrangement, dispositio, the skill of organizing those ideas. A speech must have structure, a powerful introduction to captivate, a well-ordered body to develop a case, and a memorable conclusion to.
So, one issue that we're having at Cypress College is many students are having trouble understanding the concept of kinesics and Marshall McLuhan's message. And I thought, well, what if I created a deep fake of Marshall McLuhan, Ray Birdwhistle kinesics, explaining kinesics? They might grasp that idea versus hearing it from me. So one thing I incorporated in my lectures is a deep fake of Ray Birdwhistle talking about kinesics. And for some reason, they liked it more than hearing my voice. So, before I get to the activity, I want to talk about different engaging exercises you can use deepfakes for. So interactive exercises using deepfake technology can make the learning experience more dynamic and enjoyable for students. You don't have to just use it for creating content and lectures. Another way you can use it is just using it for role-playing activities, or if you're teaching public speaking, teach students how to interview, right? You can use deepfakes and have them ask interview questions and just role-play with students. Another one is mock interviews with famous personalities, content creation, making class fun, and just bringing historical figures back to life, right? And just having them talk about the content and the things that they found it. Okay. Let's go back. Okay. So, I know it's a very dense topic. There's so much I can say about deepfakes. And it's, I can talk about this for a really long time, but I want to keep this very user-friendly, and I want to share an activity on ways to create this deepfake. So very similar to how I created the deepfakes I just showed you, this is an activity that I teach students to do to create deepfakes. And what I do is, I teach intercultural communication, and I teach public speaking and interpersonal, online and in person. So this works well for both synchronous and async courses. And so I first start off the semester with showing them about memes, and I relate it to pop culture. This is from my intercultural class. And then we segue into talking about creating deepfakes and embedding that and creating content that relates back to pop culture. So the app that I have them use and the one that I used is called Dreamface. So if you're curious on how to create the deepfakes that I've created, they allow you a very few number of free uses or free videos before they start charging you money. And I believe the fee is about $30 a year, which is pretty reasonable. And what I do is I have them choose a concept or a social issue or a historic event or historic figure. And then I have them research and plan what they want to say, what they want this deepfake to say. And I teach them, it could be humorous, it could be very professional. And then I have them create the deepfake using that same app, Dreamface. Again, they get free usage, I think about 3 uses, 3 videos. They create the deepfake and they either upload it to Canvas, they do upload it to Canvas, and they share its significance in class. And this is what one would look like.
Extemporaneous speaking is an invaluable skill that allows you to communicate clearly and effectively without relying on a script. Unlike impromptu speaking, which requires no preparation, extemporaneous speaking provides a small window of time to organize your thoughts before delivering the message. The balance between preparation and spontaneity, enabling speakers to sound both natural and well-informed. This skill is particularly useful in situations where you're put on the spot, such as answering questions in a meeting, giving a presentation, or responding to unexpected challenges. One of the key benefits of extemporaneous speaking is practicality. In many real-world scenarios, you won't have the luxury of crafting and memorizing a perfect speech. Instead, you'll need to rely on your ability to think quickly and express yourself clearly. This could be in a job interview, during a class discussion, or even when giving a toast at a special event. By developing this skill, you're better equipped to handle these situations with confidence and fortitude. Confidence is another major advantage. Extemporaneous speaking.
Okay. So,
This is a message from your professor,
okay.
Abraham. This is a message from your professor, Abraham. The greatest professor ever. He's loving, kind. God is on his side. Anyways, you have homework due this week, and it's going to be the most outstanding assignment ever. It's going to be so good. First, it must be clear, organized, and polished. Don't get me started on Joe Biden. Second, cite your sources properly. Use the correct format and give credit where it's due. No fake news here. No fake news here. Finally, I'm bringing excellence back to homework. We will make homework great again.
Okay. So you can, have fun with this. It doesn't have to be too serious. We also have a response from Joe Biden.
Anyways, I agree with Trump. Let's make homework great again.
So these are fun for my async courses when I post announcements in Canvas. Now I want to leave you off with this.
Oh, come on, man.
Okay. So we talked about the parallel back to Marshall McLuhan's The Meeting as a Message, ways to create content and engaging activities as a lecturer or as a student. And we talked about one activity that you can use and have students do as far as creating deepfakes using historical figures or just content that you talk about from class. So I want to leave you off with a quote from Marshall McLuhan's book, and it goes like this. Humor as a system of communications. What's going on? Okay. Humor as a system of communications and as a probe of our environment or what's really going on affords us our most appealing anti-environmental tool. It does not deal in theory, but in immediate experience, and is often the best guide to changing perceptions. Older societies thrive on purely literary plots. They demanded storylines. Today's humor, on the contrary, has no storyline, no sequence. It is usually a compressed overlay of stories. That's it. Thank you. I want to now send it back to Rocky.
here, folks. So I'm going to be talking about leveraging AI for enhanced accessibility and inclusion in higher education for the greater regard. I just remembered I had to set up my slides, so give me one quick second. Sorry about that.
Oh, and by the way, if you are interested in any of these links, the QR code that Alex shared, you can access all of this.
Oh.
I know, I'm so bad. I like to move around. All right, getting back to it. So I will be talking about leveraging AI for enhanced accessibility and inclusion in higher education for the greater regard. So a little bit of background on myself. I want to mention that I have been teaching public speaking for the past 7 years. I teach at a community college in Glendora, California. I also teach at CSUF Fullerton, which is a state college, and I graduated from Cal State LA amongst my colleagues. So I have a lot of experience in education. I have some experience from the community college sector, where I got my associates and then was finally able to transfer to a state college. So I have some good insight in terms of how I like to approach education. I also want to mention, just with full disclosure, that I also am a student who identifies with having a learning disability. So a lot of my work has focused on this idea of improving accessibility and making the classroom more equitable for our students that are often disadvantaged, which would attribute not only to persons of color, disabled folks, LGBT folks, those that are often marginalized and silenced. So I really focus on this idea of really trying to think of the transformative potential of AI-driven solutions for the greater regard and addressing the diverse needs of students with disabilities and promoting equitable access to educational opportunities. I think that this can be applied to many disadvantaged voices, once again, and I want to go ahead and share just a few things that I like to do in class just to possibly inspire y'all to maybe incorporate this in your own classes. So I'm just going to kind of scratch the surface here. There's so much to unpack in terms of accessibility, folks. So I'm going to try and keep it brief and to the point. However, we also want to open it up to questions, so feel free to think of those questions and let us know. All right, so main areas that I would like to focus on are increasing accessibility, enhanced communication, and then I'm going to share just a few examples of things I have done in the classroom to really, once again, bridge the gap of disparity for students that are diverse, but specifically because it is my passion for students with disabilities, including learning disabilities, mental health issues, autism. It can be a whole array of folks that just need that extra resources and need that extra support. And once again, I have a very personal connection to this topic because I struggled immensely with lack of resources and not knowing about certain programs that probably would have benefited me a lot more in terms of my own success as a college student. So now that I'm on this other side of education and I'm facilitating the growth and hopefully inspiring students to want to pursue their goals. And I think that, really recognizing that a disability is only another facet of one's identity. It's like the color of our skin, it's like our gender identity. It's about just appreciating those differences, and us as instructors recognizing the importance of how we need to meet them halfway, and we need to provide these tools to them so they can benefit, because they're often, once again, one of the most disadvantaged groups when it comes to the classroom, and could benefit the most out of AI generated technology. So, with all of that said, I'm going to go ahead and jump into how this can increase accessibility. So give me one quick second to jump that up. All right. So I do want to mention that when we look at the disproportionate numbers when it comes to students with disabilities, this could be auditory, this could be visual, it can be an invisible disability, it can be one that we would recognize just by looking at the person. So as someone who has an invisible disability herself, it was often a bit of a struggle in terms of communicating that to instructors and really trying to find, again, that support. And sometimes our students want to tell us and they are open to that conversation, and then some students, like myself, struggle with actually putting it out there. And I think that's due to a lot of the stigma around talking about accessibility, but also talking about how this stigma of how we perceive disability as something to be less than, right? And I think that's a big problem, and I think that's an area that we can really just do a little bit better with. Okay, so I do want to mention before I get started that I am I will say it, point blank. I am still very much learning the possibilities of AI. Like I said, I'm kind of scratching the surface here. I've used ChatGPT in the past, Google Gemini. Thanks to my colleagues, they've really pushed me outside my comfort zone to be able to explore these awesome apps and see how transformative they can truly be in the classroom. It's amazing. I mean, we heard some great presentations today. So I started with just using ChatGPT just to brainstorm topics, to kind of stay informed into how students are using it as well, like punching in prompts, just kind of seeing how it works, like really trying to get the mechanics down. And I quickly realized that this tool can have there's so much potential to hopefully, once again, bridge that access. And I think that it's so important for us as educators to be fluent in AI so we can really prepare them for what's next. What's truly, next, whatever that looks like for them, whether they want to go for continuing education, they want a career in tech, the possibilities are endless. So I really want to talk about how this can help those students. So a lot of AI-powered tools offer this innovative approach to accommodating various disabilities, like I mentioned before. This includes visual, auditory, physical, and cognitive impairments. And we have features, or AI-generated features, such as speech recognition. We have natural language processing, and finally, assistive technologies. So I think that the really cool feature, and something that really caught my eye about just starting this process of using AI in the classroom, is that it can really tailor the student's experience. And I think that's a big takeaway, that it can really try to augment that accessibility initiative, and really, even through the use of like automated captioning, like things that we might not think, oh, that matters too much, like absolutely. It can really help in eliminating confusion or eliminating frustration for online students specifically, and any type of learner. So by enhancing accessibility, I would argue that AI not only empowers students with disabilities, but it also creates a space to engage and opens up that conversation. I'm all about trying to build an inclusive classroom. I always refer to my students, we're a community, we're in this together. Like, I try to really push that narrative because I want them to feel less isolated, less alone, because I know what that feeling is like. personally. Not only just being a first generation college student, but also adding this layer of difficulty in terms of not understanding the information compared to other learners. So once again, I really want to focus on how we can increase that accessibility. So I'm gonna go ahead and get into how this enhances communication, and then I'll share some assignment prompts. So I wanna talk first a little bit about Otter AI. This is really, really helpful in terms of providing real transcriptions for lectures and discussions. So if a student is struggling with some sort of hearing impairment, this can be especially helpful so they can be able to learn the information, get down the content, and it also helps visual learners as well. So it can help, folks in both camps. Now, that's a little bit about Otter AI, really fun. And the next one I want to talk about is Canvas Studio. Now, I'm sure we are all familiar with Canvas Studio. It lives within Canvas, so it's very accessible, it's very easy, free to use for students, free for us as well. So I'm sure you know that not only is it a convenient application, but Canvas Studio does have an AI feature in terms of auto captioning. I want to stress the point that because it's AI and it's imperfect, you need to go through the transcript, double check, make sure everything looks good, because again, we want to avoid that frustrating aspect of using AI where it doesn't make sense, right? It doesn't match the content or the topic that you're discussing. So I personally find Canvas Studio to be really helpful as long as you just double check, make sure to not depend on the AI to think for you, like just make sure that everything is nice and clear before publishing the content to your students. So I personally lead a lot of asynchronous classes, so this has been especially helpful for students with disabilities and really just trying to improve that access. Thank you. And the last one that I would like to talk about is Harmonize. Is anyone familiar with Harmonize? Played around with this at all? Okay, a few. All right, excellent. Okay, awesome. I am pretty new to Harmonize myself. I used to use Flipgrid. They also changed their name to Flip, it's like Madonna, right? Like they're trying to change it up a little bit, but they discontinued that app. So I was struggling a bit to be like, all right, so what do I find to replace this app? I had a lot of love for Flipgrid, but I found Harmonize through a colleague at Citrus College, which is really cool. And this is an excellent platform. I think that it takes discussions to the next level. I think it's really, really great for peer-to-peer sort of interactions. I think it's a much more straightforward application to record presentations, to once again do that peer-to-peer type of work. And let me mention the specific, the winners of what Harmonize offers here. So one thing that I think is really cool is its AI generated rubrics. So you basically punch in a prompt on Harmonize. Let's say it's a speech, or let's say it's a speech with peer-to-peer feedback, which is what I often like to do to really boost that engagement once again. And they will take whatever is in that prompt and create a rubric. And you can edit that rubric, it could absolutely be modified to fit the needs of the assignment, you can alter the points. It just sounds like a regular rubric, but I think it's really cool, this little AI featured aspect of it. So I think that's a really big highlight. Also, Harmonize is really big on accessibility, and I think that is also important to mention, how it also provides that auto captions. Just make sure to double check it before submitting or publishing this content to students. And I definitely want to say Harmonize is one to check out, folks. So make sure to see if your campus does offer the license. This is a licensed application. Some campuses cover it, some don't. Thankfully, at my community college at Citrus, they do cover this one, so I've had an opportunity to really play around with it. So it's been really, really neat. All right, excellent. So with all of that said, folks, I'm going to start to wrap it up. And we are going to open it up to questions, so we want to make time for that, okay? So some takeaways from this conversation. Again, I just scratched the surface. There's so much to talk about here, and I think that's important. I want to really inspire y'all to get creative. I know AI is new and it seems scary, but we need to be ahead of that curve for our students. We need to not live in this fear and feel this hesitation to want to jump into trying new things, because that can make us so much better shaped and for our classes and the trajectory of where our students are at. The reality is they're already using these programs. They're already using this tech. So we need to stay informed, and we need to be more fluent in what they can take away from this. And if we facilitate that growth and facilitate, like, hey, this is how to use this ethically. This is a tool. We want to really, really drive that point home, that it is a tool. And just like any tool, like what Wesley mentioned, very much it's something that we can use to benefit our jobs, make our jobs maybe a little bit easier, a little bit better, but very much it is a tool that students are already using. So by embracing AI in the classroom, by trying these little methods, like take it with baby steps, like whatever is comfortable for you, but try it. And I really want to encourage you to adopt this technology in whatever form, because we need to be committed to the future of every student, and this is the future, okay? This is the future. And regardless of their abilities, they should have that equal opportunity to learn, to participate, to succeed, and as educators, we need to leverage these tools to align with our shared goal, which in essence is about making education accessible and empowering for all. So thank you. All right. Beautiful, folks. So once again, I want to thank all of my amazing colleagues for presenting some really amazing content. We want to open the floor up to any questions that you may have. We also want to give you an opportunity to maybe share your experience with AI, comments, this is all a safe space, so let's go ahead and chat about it.
I have a question for you about the image of the video generators. So do you type out a word-for-word script to have them read?
Yeah, so the process is you collect the image of someone, a public figure or historical figure, and what I do is I have either Gemini or GPT create the script for me,
Okay.
or I can do it myself manually.
Okay.
I plug it into the app, and it generates that music.
Okay. Is it pretty easy to download and then upload into Canvas?
Very easily.
Does it provide captions at all, or do you have to?
Okay, so if you want to spend a little bit more time to add captions, you can. And again, as Alex shared with us today, you can upload it to YouTube, have it generate caption automatically, and if it's off, you can take that script, plug it into GPT, refine it, polish it up, and then it'll be good.
Okay, great, thanks.
I've also got a question for you. I'm curious about how do you apply that deepfake in the role play for interview?
So again, I create a script and with different interview questions. So I'll put it on the screen, and then I'll have a student just interview with the deepfake as if they're interacting or engaging in real time. So that's just one role-playing way for interviews. Just pull it up on the projector, have your interview questions ready, that script plugged in, and then it's a back and forth.
Then how about the time gap between different questions? Will you and
You can always pause it between each question, and then when you're ready for the next question, you can click play.
Kind of for any or all of you, since you've worked with this and you've developed content and you're working in the class, have you considered or found a way to incorporate this at a program level? Like with any program, I teach media studies, you don't want to spend every class repeating how to do prompts or how to work with AI. Have you thought about a way to do that in your program?
I can sort of answer it. So I specifically used YouTube in terms of like applying the program level, so when I design my courses, everything's embedded and my courses are set up so that way everything is available online externally in some particular way. So I specifically use YouTube videos because I like YouTube also. But because if I have, in this semester, some like lecture videos and they're on YouTube and they're embedded on Canvas, all I have to do next semester is just import that. Or if one of my colleagues like wants to use it, I could just literally like email them like the HTML code, okay. Like you want to have a lecture or a quiz about something, here you go. So your question, how to implement some of these strategies department-wide, I think in part relies on if your colleagues have buy-in with it and wanting to do it. The other aspect is the easiest way is a lot of the stuff we talk about, with the exception like to harmonize, are publicly accessible like to all students and all faculty members. So your question about like, oh, how do you add captions to a video? Canvas Studio's auto captioning system is, according to them, like at least 85% accurate. So even if you have it, you upload into Canvas Studio will generate the captions for you, mostly correct, I mean, provided like some things. Like if you read from like a script and everything, it makes it easier. But to your question, how do you implement this department-wide? I specifically designed my courses so that way everything like templates, Google Docs, Google Slides, everything is like on Google for me because that's the easiest way I can share it with my students and for anybody else who just wants access to materials.
Just linking to content.
Yeah. Good job.
Okay, we'll take your question.
Yeah, first of all, I was shocked to find out that Aristotle was British. Revelation. But my question is, as you're introducing these tools to students and the application part of it, how much of a conversation about the ethics and pitfalls of them precedes these, like for deepfakes, deepfake pornography, etc. For anything that's image-based, we know that there is such an, well, I'll be generous and say there's implicit bias, racist, in the way it generates these. So do you have those discussions with your students before you send them off to use these tools?
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
You know, for every conversation, or for every assignment that I introduce, I do have those AI conversations, showing students when AI use is allowed and when to make that switch is so critical when you're introducing any assignment. You know, there has to be training and awareness to mitigate unethical AI use. Also, your students really have to be aware of the consequences. Also, you know, while it's a highly contextual question, it really depends on the assignment. It depends on the information that you're plugging into the AI chatbot. So I guess we really don't have a clarity on that. We really have to dig into that. So thank you for that question.
And another thing, we know deepfakes can be used with ill intentions. And we've seen in Southern California, high school students are creating deepfake porn of other students. It's a problem. But as far as in my college courses, I definitely, you know, set the standard. And this is why we start off with memes first. And then we segue into deepfakes. We definitely talk about the ethics of it, and it kind of also exposes them to media literacy as a whole. And they get to understand what's right and what's wrong, what's ethical and what's not. And as far as the voice, I don't know what Aristotle actually sounds like. I just chose one of the voice options in the app. But again, you can clone voices, right? I can insert my own voice if I wanted. Probably sound Arab or something. But you know, you can definitely change the voice structure. But as far as ethics, I definitely lay out the ground rules before we can start that assignment. Absolutely.
I would just like to piggyback off of that. I just think it's really important to have that conversation when you set up the assignment. You need to set the standard and make it nice and clear as to when does this differ from being something that writes and thinks for you versus something that can be a resource to help you get your thoughts together, like brainstorming topics, etc. So definitely want to piggyback.
Yeah, so I hear you folks saying this is a tool, this is ways to provide examples and models. And at the other end of the spectrum, I can see students wanting to remove some of the pain of learning by going towards and gravitating towards these tools. And to the point of just you, like, okay, you teach them how to use a social media tool, like AI, to generate say social media media post, and then that's the answer. Just gonna keep doing that. So you have this spectrum, right? So what are some of the scaffolding maybe you embed into your classes to make sure that students are critically thinking and not outsourcing their critical thinking?
In my view, there are two options facing teachers. Either you show your students how to use it in a responsible way or expect them to abuse it. So for some English professors, they changed all of their take-home assessments to in-class assessments. So students are now required to research, write, and refine their work in class. But other professors are allowing students to consult AI for editing suggestions. And these students can write their papers at home. But then those students have to critique their completed work in class. This approach allows teachers to check for consistency in the students' writing. So there's a lot of scaffolding, there's a lot of different approaches to this. My approach right in the beginning of the semester, start off with low stakes assignments. This is how I prepare my students to use AI effectively, by not just challenging them with a big assignment, but gradually getting them comfortable using it.
So it sounds like, to some degree, it's I'm not teaching my course as I normally teach it, and we have this tool over here. I'm going to design the pedagogy of this course around how this tool functions. Meaning, like, when it's integrated fully, or there's times where I'm making sure they're offline, and they have to use it.
Right. And it does differ as far as your modality of teaching, right? Are you in person, or is it online, right? It does change things.
Something that I felt to be helpful to your question, which is really great, is asking for a writing sample at the beginning of the semester. Just something that they can do, again, low stakes, just to be able to see like how they usually break things.
And then I have a minute left. So one thing I do, at least for online classes, that when I have my students like do writing assignments, and then, so on Canvas, if it's a quiz, it'll be like a 5-item, each question is like one essay question. Question 1 is like go to ChatGPT, like make a speech outline about this, and then copy paste that into it. That's question 1. Use AI to copy paste. Question 2 then is also, all right, refine, copy paste the AI thing, and then refine it. Because on Canvas, specifically in quizzes, you can do quiz like auditing. So you can actually look at students, if they use stuff in the text entry box, like things they type in. So for the second question where they have to specifically do revisions, I will look at the log of their quiz to make sure that they actually manually did revisions. So that's one way you can do it. In person would just be like, okay, print it, let's all go to the library, print out AI something, come back to class, all right, now let's start like, critiquing or anything stuff.
And just to add on, students are for the most part, are familiar with using these type of technologies. They use filters when they post TikTok videos or Instagram reels. So they're quite familiar when it gets to it. But as far as outsourcing, it's very hard for them to have someone else do it because the majority of the time it's connected back to the content of things that we're talking about in class, right? So you can't just go out and say, well, I want to find something that's already been made. No, they have to really make it themselves. So it's very hard to outsource content that is very catered and custom to that discussion or that chapter reading. So
That is all our time. I think we have time for one more question. No, please.
Yeah, nobody's in here after us.
Yeah,
It's
no
okay.
one's trying to kick us out.
The only thing I wanted to ask was, do you have administrative support across the university trying to get everybody up to speed on how to implement AI, or are you all just guerrilla warfare? We're doing it in the trenches, and maybe administration will catch up with us.
So,
I didn't know.
Well, I'm on the AI task force at Cypress College, and the district is really pushing for instructors to incorporate AI a lot more.
And is it just an encouragement, or is it real training and real
It's still
support?
relatively new. So this is what the AI task force is working on right now, is making sure, figuring out how we can create guidelines for different departments to use it, right, with rules. My district is very supportive. They like it a lot.
Personally, it's pretty much doing your own thing, like definitely a more guerrilla approach. However, our IT is familiar-ish with these programs, so that can sometimes be an obstacle within itself. Is like, hey, you gotta figure it out, and then have to relay that information to students. So I do find that frustrating and wish that at least my department was a little more on the cutting edge of things. So that's definitely a hurdle. Definitely a hurdle.
My district, the Los Angeles Community College District, same thing. We do have trainings. I have ran professional development trainings on how to use AI considerations. A lot of the times, just administratively, I think it's the most important thing for some instructors is if you turn it in and if it says that a piece of student writing is like 80% probability AI generated, don't just give them a 0 because you can't trust that. Because Turnitin's plagiarism checker that has the AI probability thing can be very inaccurate. My colleague who makes like who uses 11 Labs to voice clone himself so he could just audiobook all the textbooks. He did a training where he wrote an original essay for political science, like submitted it, turned it in, said that his original handwritten like original piece of content was likely like 80% or like 90% AI generated, despite the fact it was real. So yes, my district, we do have professional development trainings about AI support, but part of it is also just make sure that faculty don't overcorrect because of some students use AI. There's also like, because also aside from this, like it's on our phones. I have an Android phone. Google Gemini's AI thing. It's in my text messaging. It's in my text messaging app. If any of you have iPhones, it's in they have Apple Intelligence. So even if students don't go somewhere else to use the technology, the technology is being integrated like everywhere, anyway. So like you can't avoid it.
I know I'm in a room with way smarter people than I, but I can tell you I'm working as an elementary principal. And we are actually integrating several of these things already in elementary schools.
It's amazing.
Elementary, middle, and high school.
Oh, I love that.
There's a program platform that would be very interesting if to those that usually kind of go rogue on some of these things.
Yes.
There's Magic AI and Magic School AI. That is a great way to get faculty, staff, putting their feet in the water for it, because it gives several ways to start integrating these things. It also provides, like you were talking about, for those that come from several different, that need extra help in different ways. Autism, hearing impaired, those types of things. They have IEP generators. However, it also provides for classroom management strategies. That program actually helps and gives ideas for educators on how to bring in this stuff for those types of students.
Excellent.
So it's neat to see what's happening in the college era as well as what's happening coming up. So our kids that we're bringing up to you guys, they're already starting to have their foot in the water of what's coming.
I think that's so important because they really need that digital literacy from the jump.
Or a K-12 teacher, if you want them to get their feet wet, just say, it'll write your lesson plans for you.
That's a great point. That's a great point. All right, y'all, that is our time. Thank you so much for joining